There were many questions about Jalen Hurts as a pro. Well, the regression was real. Everything went backwards.
This is Sharp Money with Patrick Meagher on VSiN, the sports betting network.
I teased you at the beginning of the show that Chris Sims ethered a particular NFL player, and he called this player the most overrated player, not by position, but in the sport. We're going to play the clip for you. It's a player that we've talked about. Now, this is a team that had a great start to the season, and then things just seemed to fall apart. And it seemed like now they lost both assistants, but it just seemed like there was some inner turmoil. Wide receiver popping off. The player you're about to hear about was always very downtrodden and morose. So, Dustin, let's go ahead and set up Chris Sims here.
Yeah, this is
Don't say who he's talking about. We'll just play the clip, though.
This is Chris Sims asked a question about a player from a market and his overall view on that quarterback.
Yeah. You know, Jalen Hurts I respect a lot about Jalen Hurts, but I think Jalen Hurts is also like the most overrated player in football. All right, that's me. I know I'm wrong. I take a lot of crap about that comment, but you know, he plays quarterback for a team that's an all-star team. Yeah. They have the best O-line in football. It's not even close, right? They got maybe the best duos at receiver in all of football, right? I just think if you put some other quarterbacks in Philly, you put Kyler Murray there, you'd go, damn, Kyler's amazing. Is he the MVP of football? And I think we lose sight of all of that a little bit. Again, it gets into the quarterback team thing, where right now we're all about the quarterback. And, he'd be one of those guys that I certainly would go, hey, when Kyler's on his game, he is every bit in the class of Jalen.
That is, first off, good job by you, Chris Sims. In an era where people are afraid to stand on their 10 toes and make a statement, specifically for a guy that works at NBC, I give him a lot of props. You see Chris Sims on NBC on Sunday night. I mean, he's there talking NFL, and he gave a take that I don't think is necessarily hot. Like, Jalen Hurts fell off last year. Now, you can point to Steichen leaving, his offensive coordinator, but I think there's a bigger picture here. Remember the A.J. Brown stuff. A.J. Brown was very disgruntled. When you're talking about Big Dom being a key to your team, remember Big Dom, who's security, and apparently the rumor is he's the one that's charged with keeping Sirianni in his shoes. I think Nick Sirianni lost his way last year. And Nick Sirianni was an offensive coordinator that didn't call plays in Indianapolis before he got the job because Frank Reich was calling the plays. Sirianni loses Steichen, and all of a sudden the quarterback takes a step back. Jalen Hurts, there were many questions about Jalen Hurts as a pro. And 2 years ago, he answered those questions. 22 touchdowns, just 6 picks, completion percentage was great, ran for a boatload. So coming into the year, he was your odds-on favorite to win the MVP. You took a look at the market over at DraftKings coming into last year's football season, and Jalen Hurts was your favorite to win the MVP. Well, the regression was real. 23 touchdowns, 15 picks. Everything went backwards. Now, was he injured? Philly fans starting to get heated right now. Was he injured? I don't know. One thing I do know was he was disconnected. We would play the clips of Hurts after losses, and I know he's Zen, and I know he's Thich Nhat Hanh, and I know he's Eckhart Tolle, and I know he's the Buddha. And I know he's very chill, and he meditates. But those vibes coming out of the Eagles locker room, that goes right back to Sirianni, and as the leader of the team, and that's what Hurts is, I don't necessarily feel like when we were playing those clips, remember, Dustin, you would play the clips, I'm like, whoa, something is off there. I know he's a chill guy with a chill personality, which is all good, but that wasn't just a guy being chill. That was a guy that was completely disenchanted. That was a guy that was completely disconnected. And that's what you saw on the field as well. So I don't think it's crazy to say that Jalen Hurts is overrated. Now, Sims went a step further and said he's not the most overrated quarterback. He's the most overrated player in the NFL. I don't have my grades readily available for the guards. So let me just be very clear. I do have over in my office, I do have the grades because I grade every play every year.
Of course.
Just scouring over all 22. But I will say, Hurts to me, like the idea that he was your favorite to win the MVP was ridiculous, and his play backed it up.
Professor Patrick dishing out grades over there. I want to ask you a question, because I think this is a thing people get confused, and I don't think they really look at the nuance between these two things. Jalen Hurts, accurate passer or high completion percentage? Because the numbers tell you 65.4%, it's a pretty solid completion percentage. But when you watch him play football, Patrick, do you think he is an accurate passer of the football?
I think he is a system dude. And I think Steichen knew I know that Ben Johnson knows what to do with Jared Goff. I know Shane Steichen knew exactly what to do with Jalen Hurts. He's not a pure thrower of the football. Your point is well taken. So when you lose somebody that has an innate feel how to curtail a game plan around Hurts, Steichen, you're going to lose a lot from the player as well. And that's exactly what happened.
And I believe...
And by the way, Sirianni's a donk. Like, we knew this. When Jalen Hurts, the previous year, was corralling his head coach and acting like the adult in the room when Sirianni's going after fans, you knew there was something wrong there. Yet he had Gannon running his defense, and he had Steichen running his offense, and he had Big Dom. Now, Big Dom is essentially security for the team. And apparently, he's the most important player outside of Jalen Hurts on the team. Because when Big Dom left the sideline, the Eagles fell apart. Well, let's just talk about this logically. Shout to Aristotle. If Big Dom is the reason your franchise is falling apart, you've got systemic issues.
But you said he's a system quarterback. Do you believe there's enough there that he can be schemed up to, one, be an MVP contender, and two, lead the Eagles to a Super Bowl?
He already did it. So the answer is yes. He did it 2 years ago. But I'll further that by saying I think 2 years ago was as good as it gets. That was the ceiling.
Yes.
I think he can be a very productive quarterback. I don't know if he's the most overrated player in the NFL, but right now, he's certainly that as a quarterback.
Look, there's very few guys left in the league who are system-proof, but he is 100% a system quarterback. You have to build everything around that skill set, and it's very unique, and I do believe it can work, and I do believe it can contend for Super Bowls, multiple. I think they can get back there again. But on his own, Jalen Hurts, not a special player to me.
Here's what I do know. The Eagles are going to be looking for a new head coach after next year's football season. Write it down. I see you writing with your pen. Write that one down. There's a prognostication for you.